Welcome to Aware. We are dedicated to communicating information that inspires your positive growth and change. Are you interested in a peaceful planet? Are you interested in optimal health? Are you living with purpose? Are you enjoying your life? We realize each person can make a difference, and our mission is to empower your awareness. The choices that you make in every moment shape your life, and we encourage you to realize that you have your own answers and to always listen to your own truth. We invite you to stay aware.
Hello and welcome to the Aware Show. And I'm always so excited to be here with you and communicating information from brilliant, brilliant people about how to improve your life or change your life in a positive direction. Positive life changes are always good. Life changes, yes, but positive life changes, better. And have you been curious about your dream space? We're going to speak about dreams today with my guest, Machiel Klerk, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But if you want to listen to the show at any time, you can always listen to our podcast. The Aware Show podcast is there for you on demand at any time. Lots of amazingly inspiring guests and great information as well. If you want to share it with your friends, you can. If you hear something that you think will help someone else, I think that's always the best way to share information that makes a difference in your life as well. So dreams. Do you remember your dreams, first of all? Most of what I hear when we talk about dreams is, I don't remember my dreams. Well, there is a way to remember them. But what about getting guidance from your dreams? Using your dreams as kind of like your own inner guidance counselor. This is an ancient technique that we've kind of not become aware of or maybe forgotten about in the West. And we're going to talk about that today, which I'm really honored to have my guest with me, Machiel Klerk. We are talking with him, who is also a licensed therapist. He is an expert speaker on dreams, and he's traveled the world of learning about various cultures and their healing traditions and their dream practices. He has a new book out called Dream Guidance, Connecting to the Soul Through Dream Incubation, which we're going to learn a lot about today, which I think is really fascinating. And it's all these ancient practices that have been used by cultures throughout history that provide practical, valuable information on how dreams really can help us in our daily lives. So welcome. Thank you for joining me, Machiel.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here with you, Lisa.
You too. I can feel like this is going to be a great conversation. So, first of all, are dreams windows to the soul?
It's actually a really great question because in it is the question, what is a dream? And if you remember a dream that you had recently or a dream that was really vivid, and for anyone that listens, go just back into that memory, into the dream, and notice where you are. And when you notice where you are, you will see that there are other figures around you, and they are doing something. And while they are doing something, you probably respond to them.
Mm-hmm.
So the experience shows that the dream is a world that we find ourselves in. And in that world, we have an experience. And so that is what a dream is. And so maybe it's a window into the soul, but it is really we are into the soul, or we are into a world of imagination where we have an experience. And I think it's a soulful place.
It is. It is a beautiful place. I've always wondered that question. Is it a window into our soul, or are we really drawing information from a different realm while we sleep? Do we travel? And I'm wondering if you think it's both.
I think it has elements of both. We are in the world of imagination or into an other world. And in that other world, we experience and encounter aspects of ourselves. Like if we have a thought, it manifests as, let's say I have a critical thought that might manifest as my former boss who was very critical, or my mom who is critical. So the dream thoughts and beliefs take on forms and shapes of people that we know or figures we know. Yet there's more than just our own thoughts and beliefs we encounter. We also can encounter deceased relatives, or what is called in the Greek tradition the daimon, or a spirit guide, or the genius in the Roman tradition, figures that don't belong to ourselves, but we meet in the world of dream, and they can help and support us on our journey.
Hmm. I wonder, is it our imagination that they support us, or do they really?
Well, my experience is that there are many helpful dreams that bring information and intelligence to us that we didn't possess. So there's this
Mm.
classic example of Paul McCartney dreaming the tunes of the song Yesterday, and he felt that that came from an outside source to him. Um, and there are also moments that the dream is just a reflection of our personal imagination. So it moves from personal to non-personal, is my experience.
I am one of the, fortunate ones that remembers my dreams, and I'm guided by them quite often. But we have to ask, what about those that aren't, don't remember their dreams? How do they get into that practice?
It's very simple, and it all has to do with showing interest. The moment we show interest in our dreams, we start remembering dreams. And the main technique is have a paper and pencil next to your bed and just write down the dream upon waking. Research shows that everyone dreams between 4 and 7 dreams a night. We have about 2 hours of active dreaming, but we forget about it because our short term memory goes offline. And of course, you need your short term memory in order for the experience to be stored into the long term memory. And
Does does the dream happen in the REM sleep, or just technically, when does the dream happen? 2 hours a night. That's great.
that's a lot. Huh? Initially, people thought it was only in the REM sleep, but then research has shown it happens throughout the night. There are many other periods, if you would wake people up, that they can report a dream. But the most vivid and active dreaming is during REM sleep.
Mm. Well, and the ones that you remember in the morning, are they the ones that were closest to when you wake up?
Probably. And
Hmm.
uh, and and when you wake up, you have to write it down because most of the dreams will evaporate within half an hour if you don't do something with it. Some fortunate
Ah,
people it stays, but 98% of the people need to write them down.
I have so many questions for you. Now, are there different types of dreams? Some that are more indelible, that really stay with you through the day and they're etched in your memory, as opposed to the kind of chaotic random dreams? What's the
Yeah,
difference?
I think that what I hear in your case, that you actually even speaking out of experience, and that you have some dreams that are not as impactful, and then some people have even dreams about the future, what is most likely to happen, kind of prophetic dreams. We have
Hmm.
dreams in which we might meet some deceased ancestor. That happens very infrequent, but when it happens, very often it's very impactful to people. We might have a dream that gives a suggestion or a nightmare, which usually will linger throughout the day. So there is a range of different dreams and different experiences. And depending on how intense the emotion is, that is usually the indication if they last.
Ah, so in the premonitions, that whole space is another whole question. But the indelible dreams, so I've had a lot of experience with my own personal dreams, but just recently I had a dream last night about running, running. And I dreamt that my husband and a friend dropped me off somewhere like 2 hour drive from home. And I said, no worry, I'm just going to run home. I just need to run. And it was probably, going to be like a day for me to run, but I just needed to run. And it's interesting because lately in my life I've just been running so much. And I know that's kind of an easier one to decipher, but could it be a premonition at all that I'm going to be running more, or is just really my psyche working out my pace lately?
Well, this one sounds like it has been on your mind, and that that the dream is almost like a psychological X-ray of what goes on right now, and that you really want to run, and it shows that you want to run a lot, and that you want to run long distances, and that is the emotional content it shows. And of course, then somewhat it's your free will how your future goes. Currently, it looks like you will be running a lot in the near future as well. But
Yep.
this sounds like the psychological X-ray, giving more an reflection of what goes on right now.
I love that psychological X-ray. What about the more common symbols like teeth falling out, falling, waking up before you die types of dreams?
Yes, those are belong indeed to the most common dreams. They've done research about dreams that dream themes that people dream about. And what I suggest when people have, for example, teeth falling out, instead of immediately asking the question, what does this mean? Ask the question, what is the experience? And then people get closer to what their experience is like. Oh my gosh, it's crumbling. I get really anxious. That gives a bit of an indication of what goes on. Or I want to say something, but I can't get my teeth open. Then you have, oh, you want to say something, but you have an inability to speak. So asking the question, what is happening or what is the experience, will very often give a person the clue of what goes on. And for some reason, the dream has taken certain themes as not being able to get to the steering wheel in the car as expressions of very common life themes that we all have.
Mm. I'm sure that you hear very common ones. Have you heard more common dreams lately, like after the pandemic, that have really, after major life events, that have really shaped people's dreaming?
Yes, what I noticed, especially during at the end of the pandemic, is people had more dreams about death, their own death, other people's death, and more destructive dreams where parts of the world really collapsed. So somewhat end of the world dreams,
Hmm.
and yeah, those
No
dreams.
doubt. I mean, that's we were seeing the death ticker every single minute of the day, so that would make sense that that was in people's psyches. What about I thought I was the only one that ever dreamed about showing up in the classroom and there's a test and not being prepared. Apparently, this is a very common dream.
I had something very similar last week or over the weekend where I had to do it where I knew, oh gosh, I haven't done these tests and now I don't pass. And most often these dreams, it's again, ask yourself, what is the experience? And I'm so just filling it in for you right now, but probably something as I feel like I'm doing a test, that I'm being tested or I need to perform in a certain way. And I don't feel as prepared as I really wish. And my tendency is then to become really anxious and feel like, oh my gosh, I need to do a test and but it's a very common dream. People are back at school and need to do exam and can't find the classroom. But
Yeah,
there,
it's
there
real. I mean, that's a real thing that students definitely experience, but that dream stays with you for life.
that's the one. And again, there what can be helpful is one, the dream shows where you are. So it would show, oh, you feel that you're being tested and you get really anxious. And then you can look at what is my anxious response to the test. Maybe I start panicking or I start speeding up. And then you can recognize that state in your day-to-day life. Like, oh, I feel my throat start choking up. I start thinking I need to be quicker. I feel actually I start closing down. Oh, I remember, dreams showed me I'm stressing too much in this moment. Let's force myself to do some breathing exercises so I can open up again and I can do the test in a much better fashion and form.
Interesting. That's a great idea. My test dream, and I know people have different ones, like can't pick up the pencil and things like that, but mine is not only did I not know there was a test that day, I didn't know that I the whole class existed. So my whole is that I had no idea I'd signed up for that class and I missed the entire semester. So mine is more of a uh, shocking, like I am surprised or a mountain is about to fall on me type of dream.
Yeah,
And I think that probably comes from events happening in my life that have shocked me that I didn't see coming.
right.
A lot of that. So how would I heal something like that? I mean, it's happened several times in my life where
Yeah.
things have shocked me, haven't seen coming. So how do you deal with that? Lifetime stuff.
Yes, and what you in actually intuitively already start asking yourself or discovered, oh, this type of dream is more I'm surprised by something I didn't anticipate, and I get really thrown off, and it's really impactful. And you could look at what happens to you if you start feeling sad or insecure,
Mm.
and the best thing is then to start thinking ahead. When that happens, how can I show up for myself? Oh, when that shows up, I'm gonna tell myself, hey, Lisa, we've been here. This is really scary. I want to acknowledge that it really takes you by surprise. Again, the breathing, and tell yourself something like, no, we're gonna take it step by step. I've been really successful in the past, so slow down, and it's okay to feel sad, and we're gonna maneuver through it. So you find a different way of engaging with the situation of being really shocking, shockingly surprised by something that was really, yeah, was really emotionally painful.
Different coping skills.
Different
Um,
coping. Yeah.
I see. And now I understand that you have studied Jungian psychology for a long time. How does that come into play with dream work?
Well, Jung wrote a lot about dreams. And so a big part of Jungian work is working with one's dreams, with what Jung would call the unconscious. And I think he's one of the big Western medicine men who put dreams back in the healing practice of therapy and look at how dreams can help us as a diagnostic tool, but also as a place of healing and creativity and an ability to reconnect to our own authentic self.
Very interesting. So really Jung was the pioneer in bringing the ancient dream practice of therapy to the West. I didn't know that. That's fascinating. Can we talk about some of those practices? So those ancient practices that are used to really diagnose people's therapeutic issues.
Well, if you look at most cultures and traditions around the world, they leaned heavily on their dream for whether it is where to hunt or where to stay the night or even who to marry. Then there was the old tradition of Asclepius in Greece, where between 500 before Christ and 500 after Christ, for a period of 1,000 years, people would go to the temple of Asclepius for healing. So they would have a pilgrimage, do all kinds of rituals, and then sleep in the temple in order to have a healing dream. And most often, actually, in those times, it was a physical healing. So dreams actually are able to help with physicality as well, not even only emotions, where we these days look more at the emotional side. But mind and body is together, and dreams have a healing ability.
I wonder if if people had dream themes in those temples of similar dreams.
Well, they knew if they would dream about a snake, that would be a healing symbol, or if they would meet the god Asclepius in its human form as a man or a younger child. Those were themes that were considered very fortunate and indicative of cure or healing.
Right, right. So if you had a specific dream, it was revered as being contacted by the gods and so forth.
Yes.
So now, though, do we have dream incubator temples these days? No, I know there's sleep clinics and so forth. Do you have anything that can replicate that system?
People here and there once in a while try to imitate, but there's not a real institution or a place where you go in order to find healing in dreams. And yet it comes back in almost any culture, whether it's Buddhism, Hinduism. People would go to specific places in order to have a dream for guidance or healing or creativity, or even the king would ask the gods whether he should engage in this war or not. And one would contact the world of dream and its inhabitants for all matters that were relevant to one's life. And it has been relegated a bit to the margins in our Western culture, but there are enough dreamers like you and I and many listeners probably that have
Einstein, he was a dreamer. I mean, if you really think about it, how many of our great inventors got their communication through dreaming?
the list is endless. People have won Nobel Prizes because of dreams. Gandhi started part of his movement based on a dream. As mentioned, Paul McCartney had a song in his dream. I recently read that Stephen King often turns towards his dreams when he's stuck in his in writing.
I would call those nightmares. I would not call those dreams. But I mean, yeah, I mean, Martin Luther King, I have a dream. It's a different type of dream, but yes, it's still a vision. But can we talk a little bit about nightmares, about how what is the difference? Why are they so much more memorable than lighter dreams?
Yeah, nightmares are anxiety dreams, but they are just like other dreams, but they are in the bucket of anxiety, and they're just usually we're very anxious, and almost always, if you really look at a nightmare, there is something that we, the human, the ego, has not picked up on, and it comes in our dreams and tries to force itself onto us, whether it's someone that's chasing us or a burglar or something really scary happens, but we've clamped down in our little position. And if we could open up and take the message from the dream, not only would the nightmare disappear, but we would have a much better ability to navigate through our lives.
Hmm. And then reoccurring nightmares are more about anxiety, right? You said just now.
Yes, they're similar. It's even more forceful from the dream side to try to communicate something to you, the dreamer, that you haven't picked up on.
We do a little dream analysis session for a second here.
Go ahead.
I'll be the caller. I had a dream about, and I've had this dream several times about this apocalyptic ending of the universe type of thing, which I'm sure you hear about a lot. But the difference in this dream was the character, this kind of main character in the dream, would stop and look at me as if to come out of the whole dream space and stare at me, and it would always wake me up.
And
And
and the
like
main and the main character would was is that the one who is destroying the earth, or
he was kind of a vigilante type of character that was with the strapped on with things and big buff dude, and like you would see in a movie.
yeah.
um but he would almost like stop, like it was a scene, and then he would come out of the dream dimension and it would come directly into present time, and it would always scare me. It would shock me out of my sleep.
What a couple of things. End of the world dreams. If you look at it somewhat symbolically, one would ask, what is ending? What world is ending? Is a period ending? Is a relationship ending, or a study, or a project? So you could always ask something like that. Of course, we live in a world where literally parts of the world are ending. So we're also we can dream more collective dreams, and if that is the case, what can we do in relationship to this particular notion of ending. And then if I had a dream like that, I would be equally interested in who is this character, who is visiting, and I might make a little drawing of this character, and then I could even take the dream into the next night and say, dream character. Before I would go to bed, I would ask the question: do you have a message for me? Why are you coming to me? Why do you make eye contact with me? I don't know what to do with this, but now that you're here, if I think you're a bit scary, I'm willing to listen. So please tell it in a bit of a kind fashion and form so that I can hear it. And then you write down, do you have a message for me? And then your dream will come in a response to that and will tell you what it wants to tell you.
So is that a good example of how to use dreams as guidance?
Yeah, that's a great way to do it. What I've noticed is that lots of us have dreams that spontaneously help us, but we don't have to wait for the other side, for the dream to come to us and support us. We can also turn towards it and ask it a question. We can ask a dream character a question. You can ask the larger awareness behind the dream a question, or an ancestor, for anything that is relevant to your life. And in a big impactful dream as yours, you could ask the character something that you want to know.
Hmm. So is this what you call dream incubation?
That's dream incubation. Dream incubation, the definition is really asking your dream a question before you go to sleep in order to get a helpful dream.
So could you do things like not only asking your own awareness, your own psyche, these questions, but could you call on angels or whatever your belief system is, guidance, lost loved ones, and so forth?
Yes, I first of all encourage people, test it, try it. It needs to be your own experience because it's your relationship to your angel or your ancestor. But my experience is, and with the people I've worked, that you can ask any figure that somewhat is in the dream or stands behind the dream a question. And I even experimented with, can you ask the tree in your yard a question, or can you ask the mountain a question? What is the range? But so you can, and there again, people can, or ask your pet. Pet, is there any way that I can care better for you? And then see
Hmm.
what kind of scenario the dream paints for you.
Interesting. I wonder if you could actually communicate with a pet in dreams to ask your existing pet, hey, what's going on with this? And we have a cat who we believe is blind, but we could, how would she know? Okay, never mind. On to a deeper topic. Um, so another personal experience is my brother's been going through a certain amount of surgery, and he is, going through a bit of a health challenge. My father, who's passed, was a surgeon for 40 years. And so I asked before I went to sleep if my dad could help with my brother's surgery because, the bloodlines are connected. And I'm thinking this is like, part of my prayer is, Dad, could you please help guide the surgeons to the best possible outcome? And I got this instant message before I don't know if it was the next morning, um, and it said, I already have been. And it was so beautiful because it's a it was an awareness that I wasn't could never have thought of. And I do, when I shared that with my brother to say later, Dad's been there the whole time. And it was really comforting for us all to know. And the surgery did go really well. And we're waiting, but it's wondering, was that me communicating with my dad? Or was that my psychic just wanting to know that everything was going to be okay?
Well, I think that it lies in the emotional experience that you had. And if you really would ask yourself, do I think this is more dad communicating, or does this feel like my mind, I was making this up? I think there is the answer, because at the end of the day, we cannot really 100% say yes or no based on scientific research. But I think your own experience and the particular nature of this emotional knowing reveals the answer.
Mm, very true. And I went with it. I'm going with this answer that works for all of involved, and it was also a really good outcome. And it's just a matter of once you have an experience like I just explained, it gives you the belief or the experience to think, hey, this is possible. Why don't I open up and work with this a little bit more? And that's what it really is all about, is the practice of dream awareness, right? That's really what you're talking about here.
Yes, and it's such a beautiful example. You asked something really meaningful, had an answer that, at one hand, was somewhat surprising, but also some answer that you would love to have heard. But I think the notion that it was surprising also was indicative of that it was unique, and that it was your father saying this.
Hmm.
And it changes people's experience in life. It's so different to live in a world to know, hey, dad is on the other side and he's helping, and he's watching over us. Then
Hmm.
if you don't have that experience, life opens up. You start noticing, I'm not alone. There is support, and there are many ways you can engage with the support. For me, the dreams have been I've been very fortunate through the dreams, and I think dreams is one way you can ask dad or an angel or a scary
All of the above.
all of the above.
Everyone.
Help me.
Yes, yes, help. We need a miracle. There's a process, though, that you talk about in the book. And again, the book is called Dream Guidance, Connecting to the Soul Through Dream Incubation. And there's a 5-step process for dream incubation. I was wondering if you could explain that to us.
Yes. So in a quick example, there was recently a person that came to me, said, I'm just getting back in the dating world, and I would love to figure out how can I find a partner. And then he puzzled a little bit further on it, and he thought, no, what I really want to know is, what is my biggest obstacle in dating? So he wrote down that question. Then he engaged in a bit of a ritual, and he was drawing a heart. He lighted a candle. He did a prayer. He talked to the other side, told the other side this is important to me, and then went to bed, meditated on the question a bit, and had a dream that he, upon waking, wrote down and then puzzled upon. And he did dream, I'm in a car in a square concrete tunnel. In front of me drives another car, and I think I see a mountain lion. When I'm a little closer, it's like, oh no, it's a tiger. And he says, I get really scared. So I start backing up, and I drive back. He wrote it down and asked a question, what is happening? What is the structure? And so he thought, oh, the structure is, I'm in a tunnel that feels, gives me a certain sense. And when I see something really scary, I back out, I'm gone. And then he reached that against the question of what is my biggest obstacle. And then he starts thinking, okay, where in my life do I get scared in dating, and I'm checking out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's in a nutshell the process, and the 5 steps are: one is identifying the right question. So it really hinges on asking a relevant question. So he asked this question after a little bit of puzzling. What's my biggest obstacle in dating? Then he phrases that question in a way that will work. So you need to do an open-ended question, one question at a time, because otherwise it becomes very convoluted. So it made a nice one question,
Simple question, right?
simple
Okay.
question. Then he engaged in some ritual, and a ritual is really setting an intention, talking to the other side, opening yourself up so that you get in a frequency that you're more likely to get information to you. And then, of course, you have to sleep and dream, which is important. And step 5 is write it down, even if you think, gosh, this has nothing to do with my answer, because we have a tendency to dismiss the dream in the morning. Write it down and then work on it. And sometimes it's very clear, like this dream was pretty easy for him to understand. Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult and it comes later throughout the day. But those are the five steps that if people follow that, they can ask whatever is relevant to their life.
And you believe everyone dreams, right? That is your experience.
Yeah, it's not only my experience, it's scientific research with brain scans, MRI, everyone dreams. And if they put people in a sleep laboratory that claim they don't dream, they know for a fact they don't dream, give them pencil, pen, notebook, within days they start dreaming.
That is great. What does it look like on a sleep scan, a dream?
Well, I don't know exactly, but certain areas of the brain lit up, and your frontal cortex becomes less active. Only when
And
you become lucid, that one goes online again.
so, what is sleep paralysis? I know this is different, but
Mm,
does it have anything to do with dreaming?
yeah. So the when the body goes to sleep, the body actually becomes paralyzed, and that's really important because otherwise we would be acting out our dreams. If you were being chased, you would start
Right.
whatever you were doing. So there's some you can move a little bit, but in general your body becomes paralyzed. And some what people have sleep paralysis, they just wake up, but the body is not fully awake. So it takes a minute, maybe 3 minutes before they can move their body again. So it's totally harmless, usually very scary, but just a completely natural phenomenon.
Fascinating. Right. That the brain is so complex that it tells the body not to move during this time of this prefrontal activity. It's just fascinating. But I've interviewed the wonderful Raymond Moody, and I don't know if you know, he has the body of research around near-death experiences. And he's recently been researching shared death experiences, which means that two people at the same time will have the same dream or same experience. And usually he equates it to a kind of a comatose state. But have you had that experience of two people having the same dream at the same time or a shared dream experience?
Not personally, but I've heard from people. One that stands out is person that said I was in the theme park and I was in the roller coaster, and the other person said I had the same dream. You were sitting in front of me, and he was sitting. What? You were sitting behind me, and so they had that dream. And in lucid dreaming, dreams in which you know that you are dreaming, people have tried to enter into each other's dream and then give dream signals. So they, let's say we would do this and I would not tell you, but we would become lucid. I would do something like this or this. And then the next day you would have to say, one, did you see me? And if so, what did I do? And there are very credible examples of people having been in the same space.
That's great, especially if you have someone, a loved one who's not near you or in another state or country. You can connect in the dream space. I
Yeah.
believe that and send signals back and forth. That is a great idea. And is that an ancient shamanic practice?
I don't know. I don't know if people did that. But if it's in this notion that we share a certain layer of consciousness where we can meet in dreams, and probably even in this reality we could somehow get there, but that would be more complex. But
Of course. Of course. That's so interesting. And that you can really connect on various levels of consciousness. Doesn't mean that you're just because you're quote unconsciously dreaming that you're still conscious.
yeah,
And yeah, that you can actually direct that level of your life. I think that's fascinating. What about, okay, people who ask and do the dream incubation technique, and they ask a question before they go to sleep and they don't get an answer. What do you suggest?
A couple of things. First of all, I look with them at how did you phrase your question? What question did you ask? Because this technique really hinges on asking a relevant question. They've done even research at Harvard on this, and they noticed that people who ask a question of medical nature or something that is emotionally relevant seem to get answers. People that ask too abstract a question or too conceptual or not relevant to their life, such as what did my neighbor have for dinner last night, the dream seems not to be interested in helping. So the dreaming consciousness or the awareness in behind the dream wants to educate and support for something that is relevant to your life journey, but not to what falls outside of that. So step one is ask the right question. There's more that I can say about it, but
Right. Yeah. I'd like to ask you, what would the right question be? Like, what is this thing in my stomach? Would that be the right question? Or specific, more specific? Does this tumor have cancer? Those types of things.
well, then there, let's say you have a stomach question. You could ask a diagnostic question, what is this? Or you could ask a question, how can I heal this? And they would give different answers. And but they would be both really important. And and then what falls behind it is that you do rituals so that you get yourself in the right frequency. Because how this method really works is don't do it too quick. Don't be like, hey dream, tell me how I get rid of this. You need to approach it with a certain reference and a certain respect, and you need to have done your own homework. So those are things I look at when people say, "Oh, I didn't get a dream."
Mm-hmm. Or should I do this or this? And if you wake up with a decision, maybe start smaller and try on smaller different things. And um, what do you specifically do? Do you ask yourself questions, or do you just allow yourself to sleep? What is your intentional dream practice?
Well, in the beginning when I wrote the book, I asked so many questions, just testing what works, what doesn't work. And you can test, and everyone can test. Can you know things about the future? What is it like to be in Amsterdam? I used to live there in the 18th or 17th century, and so I encourage people to also practice and play. But in my life these days, most of the time I don't ask a question. But when I feel I've exhausted my own thinking and I'm stuck, then I turn towards the dream. Say, I would love support here, and would be so grateful if you could help me with, and then whatever I'm struggling with.
That's great. And I wonder if, like the example that I gave you with my father and that message that we received means that there is an afterlife. I mean, can you really, have you thought about that? I'm
Yeah,
sure you've heard of a lot of those stories, just like mine.
yeah, I thought about it a lot. To start with, that I lost my dad. He died when I was 10.
Mm.
So this has become a big ponder in my own life. And I think I've had myself a lot of experiences that I take as the other side visiting us in dreams. Now, dreams also, if you look at dreams from people that are dying, and they've done research on that, the dream seems to behave as if life goes on. People have dreams that indicate they're going on a journey or that they're about to marry, as if they're going to reunite with something larger than themselves. And that on the other side, that life moves on and that their problems transform, but that life somehow, their journey of becoming more aware hasn't finished on the moment that we die. It's the start of a new adventure.
That is a great theme. Yeah, I'm curious how you got into this whole study of dreams and Jungian therapy. Was it because of that experience as a child?
Yeah, that was definitely one of the things that set up my interest, because my culture, my family, my culture wasn't good at dealing with grief. So I had a lot of unresolved grief, and in my early 20s, I got stuck in my life. I had no sense of purpose. I was doing nothing at the couch at home, and was stuck. And then I read by chance some work from Carl Jung, on dreams, and I started looking at my own dreams, and it just broke open, and I got reconnected with my dad, and I got dreams showing what I was doing, of which a lot of things were clearly very unhelpful or destructive. And I was like, oof, this is a bitter moment. I need to change something here. But also dreams portray figures that contain future potential, and if you align with them or do what they do, they help you further, because your own soul, is my impression, wants to become itself, and it somehow dreams and imagines of its next step. So if we align with it, we bring into the world our own soul, and in a very literal sense, we start living a dream life.
I love what you just said. The soul wants to become itself. That is a beautiful thing to say. The soul wants to become itself.
Yeah.
And this is a tool on how to do that. But I'm super curious about, you just threw out another sentence that said, and I reconnected with my father. That's huge. What it was your experience like? Did you feel like he was alive in your heart and your soul, and you were communicating with him?
Yes, I started having dreams first about life and death, and one was that I saw death as just a complete black screen. Then in the center, a little white dot appeared, a little white light, and that took over the whole blackness and made it all white. And I somehow thought, gosh, death is not just black; death is also white. And several weeks later, I was dreaming about two squares, one black and one white. And it was death, the two components of death. And there was a little handle on it, and invisible hands pulled it over and formed the yin yang symbol. And I thought, oh, life and death are one. On a certain level, they coexist. And so that broke open this notion of death is a coexisting reality realm next to this. And then I started having dreams in which I had a sense that I met my father in the world of dream. And they were so convincing, like your experience. And I, of course, know this is my belief and I cannot prove it, but my own experience it was so emotionally convincing that I thought, gosh, this is dad. And we reconnected, and he's living there and I'm living here.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. And that inspired your entire work into the work of Jung and what you do now?
Yeah, that was the door that opened it up. I saw that my own life had meaning, that it healed the deep wound of losing a dad that I really loved.
That age, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was so painful, and I started enjoying life again. Or even when life is not enjoyable, no, there is support, and I'm working on issues that have some meaning and relevance. And I got back in a flow, and my interest. I started following my interest, and yeah, enjoy most of the time life, which is a good score.
Yes, and you realize that you're not alone too. That actually would really help.
It's a
That experience, yeah.
it's a huge help. I sometimes also say dream work is teamwork. And what you really notice is that this body, or this what we are, is just a front man of a larger psychic enterprise that lives in and through us. And we have ancestors that are on standby to help. We have, I think, guides that are there to help. There appears to be a larger awareness behind that that's interested in support. And it's much more pleasant to think we are going to tackle this problem, or we are stepping into this room with this difficult person, then I have to do this all by myself.
Dream work is teamwork. That's fantastic. That's great. Right. You don't have to do it alone. Um, and you can use this tribe, even if it's your own window of your own soul, to come up with answers. I love that. What is the difference between lucid dreaming and what we were talking about with dream incubation? Is there a difference?
Yes, a lucid dream is a dream in which you know that you're dreaming. So you could be in a dream and then at once think, oh my gosh, I'm in a dream. And it's fantastic because that moment gives you the freedom to either have fun. You hear a lot of people that want to meet a good looking person to engage with, or drive in a dream Ferrari. But you can also really use it to ask again a question. Is there anyone with a question for me? I once yelled out, being lucid. I had prepared and I thought, if I get lucid, I yell out a request. I would like to experience unconditional love. And then I got zapped in an energy state of unconditional love that lasted for a minute. And it was just a beautiful state. And then I got out of it again. And so the dream, in the dream, when you become lucid, it opens up to a wide variety of ways to engage with that environment for either personal growth or learning the nature of reality. And that is great, but most people don't get easily lucid. And you can ask your dream also before you go to bed a question for support that works. But if you get lucid, be prepared and think through. Mm-hmm. You can do healing in dreams, asking questions. The great thing is always, is there anyone with a message? Because then you really allow the intelligence of the other side to tell you what is really relevant for your life. And the other side is much more intelligent than we are. So
yes,
let it do its work.
And one would think. Now, do you do lucid dreaming in a daytime, like awake state, or when you're sleeping?
No, lucid dreaming is really when you are asleep. So you need to be asleep, you need to be in a dream, and there are tests that you can do, and sometimes if you do throughout the dream day, am I dreaming? Then you will ask yourself in the dream, am I dreaming? And then you go like, can I push through the table? Yes. Oh wow, this must be a dream. Well, let's ask the dream Lisa, who are you? And then but it's you do it in the dream self.
That's fascinating. You really can do so much. And I think this is just walking safely into your own psyche. And now if you get scared by what you see, or if you don't feel that it's safe, can you just wake up or ask it, why do you not feel safe? What would you do?
Well, yes, you can wake up, but even more helpful will be maybe say, yell out, I would love to have a supportive figure here. Then the dream will give you a supportive figure. And let's say you meet this monster, this red-eyed monster that you're really scared for. Ask it, who are you? What brings you here? Because if you're truly lucid, that monster cannot harm you. You will wake up and nothing really will happen. But if you ask it, who are you, or send it love, you just imagine sending it love, almost always the monster transforms, the monster tells you something.
Wow.
I've been trying to tell you for years to do this and this, but you always ignore me, and now I got really angry. Something to that extent. So
that's a beautiful way of doing that. Is there a difference in your mind between dreams and meditation?
Yeah, I think that well, in a meditative, it depends also which form of meditation, but in a meditative state, we go also in different states of consciousness. Mm-hmm. And I think the dream is one of these other states of consciousness. And I think the dream world coexists, it just doesn't disappear when you wake up. It just coexists next to this reality, or interconnected to this reality. So if you daydream, the dreaming consciousness comes up. and forms of meditation gets you also into more dreaming consciousness or other states of consciousness.
Well, either way, it's all got to be good because it kind of lowers the cortisol levels and the stress levels in the body anyway. So both are probably fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fascinating. Thank you so much. Lots more to come in the book, Dream Guidance, Connecting to the Soul Through Dream Incubation, all about that, which is Machiel's most recent book. And lots of information also can be found on his website, which you've seen on the bottom of the screen. His name is the website. And you also have another platform, which is the Young platform, or I'm sorry, the Jung platform. Can you explain that or say that really quickly, that website address?
Yeah, that's Jung platform, Jung platform.com, where we have a lot of courses on Jungian psychology and spiritual psychology, shadow, synchronicity, for the general audience.
Great. And great interviews there too. I checked that out as well. All right. Thank you again for all of your work. Wonderful. And again, you can always listen to this interview on our podcast and share it with friends if you found something that you felt really could help somebody else. I'm Lisa Garr, and until next time, I invite you to stay aware.